Do you find that you're cleaning up a lot of other people's work?
Oh, absolutely.
I love hearing how much these guys invest into their jobs.
So this Ferrari is a pretty quick job.
Keeps it from sounding real lumpy like an American V8. Best fitting A&N wrenches that I've ever used.
This thing should put out about 600 horsepower.
It cost $4 million to put together.
Wow. All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. And today we are at Blades Performance. We've actually known these guys for a really long time. Both Kip Blades and Justin Land, the guys that are working in this shop now, work for Diesel Brothers. I think they also worked on a show called Bitchin Rides. They have since moved on. They've opened up their own shop right down the street from the Basin Upfitting shop. These guys are building some legit LS engines. They're dropping them into some really cool vehicles. Can't wait to show you their tools, all their gear, and the stuff they're working on. So stay tuned till the end to see everything. Let's get started. All right, this is Justin. We spent a lot of time together at the Diesel Brothers. I spent a lot of time filming him and a few other guys working on trucks. This guy is like really significant because Justin and like a few other guys in the shop is where I started making YouTube videos. So me and him go way back. Obviously, you worked at Diesel Brothers, but what got you into the automotive industry?
It was mostly out of necessity as a kid growing up. Grew up on three-wheelers and snowmobiles and everything.
Had to make them run.
Everything that tried to kill us, not knowing better and just beating the hell out of everything. Had to learn how to fix it ourselves. My grandpa had a little bit of knowledge. He was kind of old school farm guy, so the whole bale and wire and duct tape
Those guys can make things run.
They made everything run, but like after I started digging into like snowmobile engines and two-stroke stuff, I kind of turned it into a hobby and then did it for a little while on the weekends. Grew up racing out at the drag strip before they tore it down, did some autocross stuff, then ended up joining the Army. Kind of similar path as Kip. He came out of the military and then just picked it back up.
You were infantry too,
yeah,
right?
I was infantry.
Yeah, I remember talking to you about that at Diesel Brothers.
So we both joined around the same time, both got out around the same time, deployed similar places. So
that's cool. And I appreciate that you're still supporting the Diesel
work clothes, man.
Work clothes.
Yeah.
I do the same thing. Yeah. I still have a bunch of it at home.
I got half a closet full of work clothes. And
I also remember the Cornwell guy coming in a lot.
Yep.
And I knew that you guys were Cornwell guys back in the day.
Yeah, I couldn't justify spending the money on the Snap-on stuff, man.
Mostly because we'd be filming you and the Cornwell guy would show up and you guys would disappear.
Yep. Well, yeah, I ended up having to upgrade boxes a couple of times when I started there. I was
gonna say, this is not the box you had.
No, I started with Big Chris's little green one.
Yeah.
And then after that, I ended up with Andrew's blue one.
Yeah.
And then when I went to Kindig and I started acquiring more tools because I needed them for the work we were doing.
Before you get into it, if you had to guess, how much you have invested in your box?
Toolbox was 13, and then the things that are in it probably bringing it about 60, 70. So,
I love hearing how much these guys invest into their jobs.
Yeah, I've got more money into tools than I have anything else I've ever.
You have more money into tools than I have anything else. Well, let's start at the top and work our way down.
Top drawer, it's got all my impacts.
You didn't organize this before we showed up?
This is what it looks like every day.
All right. I'm impressed.
And there's a reason for it. So at the end of the day, when I'm putting all my stuff away, and I go, where's that extension? I go back to what I was working on and start looking and see if I dropped it in somewhere.
Well, where is it?
Over there on the table by the car I'm working on. So got a couple of torque wrenches. I didn't want to spend big money on impact sockets because usually 90% of the time, if you're hammering on something hard enough, they end up splitting. So I bought these ones way back when I started at Sparks, and they've lasted. Never had an issue with them. Kip even rolled into buying some of them too. So.
The Tecton. Where do you get those?
I think you can get them at like Cal Ranch if you're looking for them local, but I ended up ordering these off of Amazon.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool. Obviously Cornwell.
Sockets and ratchets, yep.
Show me your favorite ratchets and tell me why.
Honestly, this one right here has saved my life on more than one occasion. 1/2 inch flex head, 30 inch. Definitely helps you get some leverage on stuff.
What
like
do you
diesel
need
trucks.
a 1/2 inch for in this shop particularly?
In this shop specifically, I mean, if we're working on trucks or anything like that, or anything with a gearbox for the steering gearbox on like the Chevelle, busting the big nuts off of the pitman arms, it definitely helps. 9 times out of 10, I reach for my impact, but if we're trying to be quiet or necessitates, reach for a ratchet. So I use this one quite a bit, and then I'll use my 3/8 flex head,
Yeah,
smaller
these
version.
flex heads are really popular now.
Yeah. Especially if you're getting in on something, you need to be out away from a frame rail or whatever else. Or if you're getting in behind something and you're short like me and you have to lean in over top of something, if you can get it towards you, definitely helps out.
Cool.
Going from this drawer to the next drawer is all my wrenches. Again,
All Cornwell.
90%
Mostly
Cornwell.
Cornwell, I guess.
Went with the Tectons on the regular box ends and stuff like that, but everything else like ratchet wrenches, line wrenches, those are all Cornwell. I love Cornwell products. I've never had a problem with them, and if I did, warranty immediately.
Seems like they all have pretty good warranties nowadays.
Yeah. Another set of wrenches I use a lot when we're doing AN lines, and Kip makes these and sells them on his website. They're by far the most comfortable, best fitting AN wrenches that I've ever used. And I'm pretty sure I got the first set.
I'll include a link to those specifically. I know we touched on them in Kip's box. I did not know he was making them for purchase. So
Okay.
if you guys want one, I'll put the link.
He's got a few things on there. He's got like a spark plug gap tool that he engineered and built. And,
Well, if
I
you're
mean,
looking for tools, I'll link it and yeah, go check them out.
this wrench right
How old
here,
is that?
at least 100 years old. It was my great grandpa's.
Well, you say at least 100 years. You mean that?
Yeah. So he was born in 1908, and I'm pretty sure the house he moved into was in 1936. And this was in the basement, hanging on the wall with all of his other stuff. It's an actual crescent wrench built
it
in
still roll
Jamestown,
good and
New York.
everything?
Oh yeah, it's
That's cool.
fully functional. And like I said, so like you even have a new crescent wrench. You can
Yeah. Oh yeah. Nice.
went with the Tecton pliers on most of the stuff. Like the smaller stuff, I got Cornwell stuff over here. That was specifically for some stuff we did on some 5-ton axles at Sparks.
You needed that.
Yep.
You think the Cornwell holds up just as good as we see a lot of Nipex?
Oh yeah,
Stuff.
they're still Nipex, but it's branded for Cornwell.
That's what I was wondering. I'm
Yeah.
like, that
Yeah,
looks a lot like a
Yeah,
Nipex.
Yeah, those
Just
are
like
those are
Yeah.
Nipex.
Nipex.
Smaller set here, just some random things, doing crimp clamps and stuff like that. Some cutters for like battery cable, hose cutters, just an assortment. This is what I usually get out of here 99% of the time. It's kind of like a crescent wrench.
That's
But
cool.
you can put a little bit of pressure, fully adjustable.
Yeah. And it's adjustable pretty fast.
yeah.
I like that. You're not rolling it.
Nope. And they do make these in a lot of sizes. I've seen them all the way down to like 2 inches to almost the size of those big channel locks that I've got up there.
Last week we had the same pair of pliers.
Yeah.
If you remember that.
Yeah, those are for doing plugs on a lot of these newer cars. They get in there, get a hold of stuff, and makes it a lot easier. You're not breaking tabs off or breaking the clips off of the plugs. So I use those not real often, but like if I
When you
if I-
need it, you need it.
Yeah, when I can't get my little fingers in there.
Which is probably rare.
Yeah, sometimes. Screwdrivers, pry bars, alignment tools, scrapers, plastic body tools.
Probably using
picks.
a lot of your plastic tools
Oh
here.
yeah,
A lot.
So at the last shop I was at, a lot of plastic, even plastic wrapped in masking tape, just to make sure we weren't scratching $100,000 paint jobs.
Would you say you enjoyed working at Sparks Motors or Kindig more?
So they're comparable in a lot of ways, but incomparable in others. So working at Sparks was an absolute riot. I had a blast with you guys there. The stuff that we did was fun, like building that brat. That
Yeah.
brat was
That was a cool
that was
project.
a fun project. Taking off from the shop and going on those trips, like rolling through Moab or whatever else, or going out and watching Sparks jump his monster truck out over an airplane. You know, like the
That's
field
fun stuff.
The field trips were awesome there. I felt like I was underutilized there because I'm a lot like Kip. Like we're really particular in the way we do things. Like he talks about his time management. I'm fit, form, and function. Like
Yeah.
if it doesn't look good, run good, and drive like the money.
It's
you paid
Sparks
for
we
it.
were just making it
Oh,
run.
yeah.
And
Make
then
run,
using
get the
it and then
content.
and then parking it.
Yeah. That's why he's got a parking lot with 300 vehicles in the back of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like at Kindig, like building engines like that and then throwing them in a car and making them work the way they're supposed to and drive the way they're supposed to. That's more where
Refined talent.
yeah, like that's where I like to be.
Yeah.
So like I said, I grew up racing. So if I put something together, it's for a purpose. Like these customers, they want something they can drive, but they can roll into a local car show and it'll get somebody's attention. It's not a $500,000 show car or a $4 million show car like I ended up working on over there. So
That was the most expensive car you worked on, was $4 million?
it was, I think, grand total, it was $4.3 million after it was done.
What was it?
It ended up winning the Riddler Award in 2024.
Yeah,
So
I remember that.
they called it the 12 Air. So it was a V12 LS that was built in Australia, and then it was a hand-formed body over top of like a, I don't know, kind of like a tub that had the engine, and part of the engine had the suspension attached to it, and then it ran back to a Corvette transaxle in the back, and it had the suspension attached to that. So you could literally take the rear suspension, driveline, torque tube, engine, and front suspension and just drop it out from underneath the whole car.
That's
It was
cool.
actually a pretty rad car.
And it ended up being worth $4 million.
I think it cost $4 million to put together.
Wow.
So
That's crazy.
I think it took about 5 years for them to do. There was a lot of money in that car.
So
So
the wheels were what, 25 grand?
25 grand a piece.
Oh.
Yeah.
More than
Yeah.
anything I own.
Yep.
I mean, that's where a regular car is, though. It's like, cost is no object.
Yeah.
It's literally
Yeah.
just like,
Well, it was built.
win. You know, it's
Yeah.
like winning.
If you're trying to get to that
It
level.
was built for the purpose of winning the Riddler Award specifically. That was
Really?
it. That was it. So down here, I've got just random measuring tools and things like that. Stuff that I don't use on a regular basis. So I've got like Allen heads, torque bits, stuff like that over here. Got another smaller assortment of them, larger stuff, ball end sockets. I've got nutsert tool. Got a dial indicator. The random sockets that I bought back at Sparks that I've only used once. I wish I
Really?
had more
They're
of a
pretty.
use for it. Yeah, that was
Oh,
like
wobblies?
like a $600 box, and I've used it once.
Nice.
I used one socket one time.
It looks nice.
Got some pickle fork. Got the torsion bar tool for GM stuff. Like if I were to resell all of this stuff, I'd probably get half of my money out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's always a hard one. Like my little brother had a huge snap-on setup when he was doing some heavy diesel stuff. Like the toolbox alone, because it had the lockers and the hutch and all the speakers and stuff. And I think the toolbox alone was 30 grand. And then he had it loaded full of tools. He decided to bail and go to North Dakota, work in the oil fields for a little while, and he ended up selling it for what he paid for the toolbox. So down here in the bottom drawer, I've got tap and die sets, some fab tools, different welding hoods, doing like MIG and TIG.
Are those still 212 gloves from Sparks Motors?
Yeah. Yeah.
Shout out to 212.
Right. These things have survived for 6
I don't even know if they're
6
still in
years.
business.
6 years.
But if they're out there,
Yeah.
go buy them.
Yeah. I've had these things for almost 6 years now. The only time I ever wear gloves is when I'm TIG welding aluminum.
Yeah.
Because it gets hot enough that I'm like,
My baby hands, I put gloves on to do about anything.
My grandpa had this saying back in the day when me and my brother would put gloves on to go do something. He says, the only thing you're going to do in those gloves is piss your pants because you can't get it out fast enough.
My grandpa would say the same
Yeah,
thing.
see?
Honestly.
Yeah.
Honestly.
This one I've had for 20
That
years.
was a lot longer.
I've had this one for like 20 years, and then Billy Luber airbrushed Hulk on it
Luber
for
did
me.
that?
Yeah, Luber did that for me.
So if you remember the Diesel Brothers show, the guy that airbrushed this painted all the artwork
yeah,
at
all the
Diesel
artwork and
Brothers.
stuff.
He's a really good guy. Billy Luber, you probably recognize the name, but really good artist.
So that one is definitely my favorite, but that's my go-to.
Speed glass.
Yep, that speed glass. I got that while I was at Sparks too. Rush,
think everyone had that,
Rush
right?
actually got it for me, yeah.
Yeah.
My go-to, since we don't have air, is the
Ooh, a big red drawer.
yes, and it's not a cheap drawer either.
No, even the batteries to run this drawer
and
would
I'm-
costed.
I'm kind of bummed because I had the big 8.0 battery for my half-inch drive and my grinder, and it took a dump right after the warranty expired. That was a $300 battery. So
Somebody sent me something just today. Have you ever seen this? The hot dog roller?
that's awesome.
Yeah, the Milwaukee hot dog roller.
Is that real?
It must
mean-
be real. Nobody would lie about this.
It's on the internet. It has to be
I've
true.
been seeing some crazy AI lately.
So if you guys, I actually want one of these just for the novelty, but he's got just about everything else Milwaukee makes.
I mean, I've got the 90-degree impacts. I've got soldering iron. Got the ratchets. Got the small and big drill. Got a little impact driver, grinder.
You find that you're reaching for the smaller impacts a lot.
So it just kind of depends on what I'm doing. If I'm putting in if I'm putting in smaller stuff, I'll always go for the 1/4 inch because that thing it's
Light.
never gonna snap a bolt off, and then I can grab one of the torque wrenches and finish it off with the right torque spec. This guy right here, that'll definitely break everything you put on working here. But like back at the Diesel Brothers shop,
I learned that the hard way.
yeah, that thing.
Thinking that I needed that to do anything. It's just you can get by with this guy. It's
like,
easy.
9 times out of 10, if I'm grabbing an impact, it's the 3/8 drive. But
Yeah.
like big stuff, definitely going there.
Cool.
Definitely use this drawer a lot.
You're in this drawer a lot? You're wiring a lot?
Yep, I do a lot of wiring. So like when I was at Kindig shop, I built all the engine harnesses. I built all the body harnesses. I wired every car from, like I was saying, engine to headlights and taillights, and doing all the audio stuff. And I wish I had another toolbox specifically for all of my wiring stuff. Right now it's just kind of stuffed in the one drawer that was open to me at the time. So go-tos, I'm obviously you're always going to need strippers and crimpers. So that's my go-to as far as stripping and crimping goes. Use them a lot on these little non-insulated barrels, and then throw some heat shrink on them. These are kind of similar to a butt connector, but they're non-insulated. Kind of strip the wire back, get it set in here. Then you use like this style crimper on them, and it'll end up folding over around the wire. And then
Right there, yeah.
you've got a little bit of insulation from the wire sitting there. You hit it again, and it wraps itself in and locks in. So those things kind of hard to pull apart. I don't know if you've ever put a butt connector on something and pulled on it and it just comes right out. These things definitely
Don't come apart.
Definitely hold a little better. So
That's cool.
I like to use those a lot of the time if I'm splicing something together.
You think you refined your talent for wiring at Kindig?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
100%. Like I had never wired an entire car in my life until I started there. And then I started asking questions like, why is that taking so long? Why do we keep having electrical issues? And then they're like, all right, you get the next one. So I took the next one and just went from there, and then turned into me doing all of them. So my dad worked for the Air Force as a civilian. He built wiring harnesses for like the F-16s and the C-130s back in the 80s and 90s and stuff. I remember going into work and he'd have an 80-foot wall with a pegboard on it with like 400 miles of wire just mapped out and putting everything together.
Oh, look, the Cornwell guy.
Yep. Luckily,
Is it the same guy?
No, luckily I've not talked to that one. So. Yeah, it's like every time they pull up to the shop, I'm like looking on the ceiling and all the stuff they got.
The lights go off and the door shuts.
Yeah. Like,
Or you can run into the bathroom.
yeah. Like I have a bad habit. I was like, ooh, that could be useful. I'll take that. I'm to the point now where tools are paid off, toolbox just about paid off. So another drawer.
This is honestly one of my favorite drawers. I don't know why.
So I've got some like dollies and body hammer in here, just in case I have to do any kind of work on the, like I'm doing the firewall over there on that Chevelle, kind of flatten some things out.
So how do you use that? Show me.
So you get in behind the sheet metal, and say you've got a spot you want to work that's right here. You kind of hold off of the edge of it. You don't want to definitely bang metal to metal with kind of sandwiching it, because it'll either shrink the metal or expand the metal, and you don't want it to grow, because then you can kind of get that old oil can effect where you can push on it and it's just kind of boing. Yeah. So for the little things that I do, these things have been my go-to.
That's cool. So, I like that the body shaping tools. Yeah. Like Luke was mentioning last week, it's a talent. It's an art. It's definitely you can spend your whole life doing.
So I worked in an aerospace sheet metal shop, but I was mostly running the big presses and forming it and trimming stuff. I wasn't really hammer forming stuff. Like I did some aluminum parts where I needed a plastic hammer to kind of shape the aluminum, because you use a plastic hammer on aluminum when you're hammer forming it. It kind of helps shrink the material so you're not ending up with big wavy edges and stuff like that. So it's something I would like to learn how to do, like doing the sheet metal work and stuff like that, like some of these guys do for these old hot rods.
What are you using this one towel on it? I mean, obviously to not scuff anything.
So on some of the custom wheels that we had at the other shop, they had a knockoff on it. So like I don't know if you remember like the old school Corvettes or the like wire spoke wheels that had that.
Yeah, the spin.
Yeah. So that's just to kind of put a little bit of
get it off.
Little extra on there, so make sure it doesn't come off, or you give it a couple of taps and it comes right off. Then my bottom drawer is just kind of a junk drawer, so I keep like ratchet straps in there, stuff I don't use all that often. Pretty sure I might even have a spare pair of underwear in there.
Dirty or clean?
They're clean.
They're clean, and they're in a bag.
Yeah. Really.
Just in case, or
I'm getting old, man, and I eat dicey taco trucks and stuff like that. So like, just in case. Luckily, I've never had to use them. But...
He's eyeballing you, dude.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he is.
Dang it,
Dude, I've never seen a tool guy with
circle back.
Yeah, more of an agenda. Yeah, he was looking back into the shop from I-15.
Oh,
Either way, thank you for running us through your tools, explaining how you got into all this stuff. I really appreciate that, and I also appreciate just reconnecting with you guys. So I didn't know you guys were just down the road.
Like I just started working for him like 3 weeks ago full time, and I was trying to gauge what was the best way to get here. So I was using Mountain View, and then the one morning I saw that Mountain View was way backed up, so I got off on 56, started coming this way, and I saw Basin there. I was like, I wonder if those guys are still doing it. So
yeah, we're gonna move on from Justin and go to Kip. Kip is the brains behind all of this. Kip was the shop manager when I got to Sparks Motors. He moved on to Bitchin Rides, and now he's got his own thing here in West Valley down the road from Basin Upfitting. Can't wait to dig into his stuff. He's got tons of experience with tools, equipment, engines, building performance parts. Without further ado, let's get into Kip's toolbox. Let's take a look at your toolbox here.
Yeah, man, Snap-on Master Series. I've had this box forever, probably like 10 years. Most guys like the double-decker boxes. I like having the workspace up top, me personally. So that's like the most expensive dial bore gauge that a man can buy right there. Yeah, so it'll measure down to 10 thousandths of an inch.
Really?
So when you're doing like engine main bearings or like rod bearings, the anvil is retractable. So when you stick it inside the engine, you can hit this trigger and it'll pull it down, and you put it in, and then it'll go back up, and then you can measure your stuff without like trying to drag it in and out. And then because of the length, when you're doing your mains, you know, you have like all your mains, your 5 mains, and if you need to do your last one, it's long enough, see, that you can fit all the way to the back, you know, and get that last bearing.
That's cool. How much does that run, if you don't mind me
That
asking?
sucker's around like $2,500 just for this. Just for
for that?
Yeah. And then make them in different lengths, and this is kind of the...
How often do you use it?
Every time you build an engine, you know, mostly for mains and then camshaft bearings and journals, and then for all the rods as well too, just to make sure that they're all the right size and whatnot. So
That's cool.
as most guys go, you know, I mean, sockets for days, acquired through many years, and we all have things that work for us, you know.
Are you still using a lot of these bigger sockets, or?
These come from my diesel days.
I was gonna say,
yeah, these are mostly diesel days. Is from where that, because I used to do a lot of even before the show, I used to do diesel repair back in California. I had my own shop, and then like sockets that I've made, you know, like TIG welded to make that one longer because I needed an extra deep, you know, 12 point, stuff like that. And then, you know, so yeah, some of these are freaking, you know, ancient, been around forever. Yeah, this old one over
Do you
here.
still work on diesels here at all, or?
I don't ever touch diesels
You don't
these days.
advertise that?
Yeah, no, I don't. I mean, it's like, I won't turn a job away if it's a good job, but I just don't really have a need to, you know. They're not my bread and butter anymore, you know. I mean, other than that, you know, wrenches, and these are actually AN wrenches that I make, that I design.
That you make?
Yeah, I designed these and had a machine, so these are like my own design, because most of the AN wrenches on them, actually I don't even think most, all of them on the market are they're all aluminum, you know, so they don't scar up the AN fittings, because if AN fittings are aluminum, but the problem is like, you know, they come from China. So the wrenches themselves, they'll kind of like bend out over time, you know. So these are made out of American 6061 T6 aluminum, so they're super strong and they'll last a long time, you know. So they don't distort, and obviously they're made in America, so you know, get to support that American business. 6, 8, and 10, those are the most common sizes that you use. You know, you do use, you know, some 12s or even down to some 4s, but those are the most common sizes that you use on most like hot rods and stuff. So
I see you're mostly Snap-on guy.
Mostly, yeah.
Yeah, I would say mostly.
There's some
Pittsburgh.
Yeah, there's some random Pittsburghs, like
random Husky.
My rule is like I'll grab a Pittsburgh tool or wrench, or like when I want to like mutilate it and grind it. Yeah, I don't care. It's like, oh, I need to grind this thing to fit for a special wrench, you know. I buy mostly Snap-on. I'm not one of the guys who said like you have to buy Snap-on everything. For me, it's mostly like the stuff that matters, like ratchets, you know, and then like wrenches, because like these wrenches right here, I've had these wrenches since I was in high school, you know. I'm about to be 40, you know, so it's like
I was just about to ask what's your first like set that you got.
So my first set were these Snap-ons over here, right? And this 9/16 wrench, I bought them in just the black finish, and that thing is like, that's how long it's been around. Where like
It's not black.
It's
anymore.
not even black anymore. Like my hands have like, you know, like basically polished it because it's been cleaned, you know, so many times over the years, you know. And obviously I've lost a few along the way, so they had to be replaced, you know. So yeah, those were the first ones I ever got. I think I was about 16, yeah, when I first.
How much do you think they cost back then?
I don't think I paid more than like 150 for a set, you know, and now it's like way more than that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then just the normal ratchets, you know, pry bar, nothing too special. I mean, I've had that freaking electric ratchet for also like 10 years at
Got
least.
some miles
you know,
on
it's been my road dog for quite a minute, man. So
These seem to be really popular.
what's that? The rubber grip ones?
These the adjustable head.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. They help a ton, man.
Yeah.
They're good. That and then this guy is also pretty rad too. This really long 3/8 ratchet is one of my go-tos. That's one of my go-tos, and then this little 3/8 palm ratchet.
Oh wow. I think that's the smallest ratchet we've seen on the channel so far.
It's handy to use for when you're just like disassembling like body stuff, you know. Most of the stuff I work on, like since I work on like not nicer like hot rod stuff, I tend to not use impacts or electric ratchets, you know, because like they'll get a little squirrely sometimes, and you don't want to ding something, right? So it's like most of my stuff I use just hand tools.
Yeah, you're just tightening things down by hand.
Pliers. There's your normal amounts.
What are you reaching for the most?
Reaching for the most. I mean, you got your needle nose, you got your wire crimpers. You know, this is probably my main one because we do a lot of wiring since we build cars, you know, from scratch. So that'll do most of your wire gauges, you know, all the way down to like 24. So this is probably the one that gets used the most for my wiring. And then also for wiring, you got your Deutsch crimpers also for doing Deutsch connectors. I use Deutsches on pretty much everything.
This might give it away how naive I am, but what is that?
Oh, that's for doing safety wire.
Okay.
Yeah, so have you ever seen like some brake rotors and then like aircraft stuff as well?
Yeah.
You'll see the wire is like tied and like spun.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what you do with that is when you do your safety wire, you'll basically take it, and if you can't tell, this thing is pretty old too. I've had it around forever. So you'll take your safety wire, you put both ends, right, of the wire in there, and you'll clamp it down like that, and you pull this, and it spins for you. So like as that's clamped, you just pull this and it'll spin it. And
I don't think I've ever seen anything
yeah,
like
you ever
that.
seen one of these? Yeah. This thing's, man. I mean, same thing on this one. I don't even know how old this one. I've had it for
a while.
It's one of those where like it just works forever, and I have no reason to buy another one because it just continues to work. I mean, piston pins too. This one will get used for putting in the rings on some of the C clips on piston pins.
I honestly haven't seen that either.
I'm sure I got a ton of stuff you probably haven't seen before. I got a lot of random tools in here. Spark plug wire, crimpers for doing spark plug wires. Same thing on custom cars. So you're going to do like, you know, wires that are like the exact, you know, perfect length, right? So you're going to make them from scratch.
You're making your wires.
Yep. Yeah. And then since we do so much wiring too, I mean, wiring is a huge part of all the stuff I got. So you got, you know, just a standard voltmeter. These guys come in pretty handy too for doing wiring, because they're super tiny little probes. You can kind of like back probe terminals with this guy, and that's all snap-on. I've had that kit for, man, an eternity as well. And then
a lot of guys get real sensitive when you talk about, like, I guess poking a wire to check the voltage online, at least.
You shouldn't. Yeah, you probably.
Yeah.
It's definitely best to not compromise the coating. It's one of those where like you shouldn't do it. I definitely refrain from doing it, but it's not the end of the world if you have to. And then, you know, soldering iron, stuff like that. You know, sometimes we gotta solder joints together. And my tape that I prefer using under dash is like the cloth style tape. That's usually used for like interior stuff, and then the more like hockey style tape. I don't use 3M tape. It's sticky, and when it gets hot, it just turns into like a ball of goo. You know, so like I stay away from that stuff.
You said you like bought your first snap-on set in high school.
Mm-hmm.
What got you into the automotive?
Like industry?
Yeah, industry.
Yeah. No. So I grew up working in my father had a trucking company growing up, which also doubled as a diesel repair company. So growing up, I just grew up in his shop. You know, I think I did my first like engine swap on one of his customers' vehicles. And by swapping, just literally just change out the engine when I was like 12 or 13, you know, and I just used my dad's tools in the garage. Like I just grew up in my dad's garage, you know.
That's cool.
And even before that, it was sweeping floors, you know, and putting away tools. And
you're not
and
from
whatnot.
here, are you?
No, I'm from California originally.
Okay,
yeah. So I just grew up doing that, and then I went into the Army after that. And after my time in the Army, I just kind of got back into it. You know, basically, it's, you know, got to have something to do.
Were you a mechanic in the Army?
No, I was in what's called the infantry in the Army. So just doing the like everyday stuff. So yeah, I just got back into it after that, and even then I kind of got more into diesels because I grew up working on diesels, you know, and then obviously came to Utah, did diesels, and then diesels were never really like a passion for me. They just were something that I grew up doing and I knew, you know, so like I made money off of it. And then over time I just transitioned into hot rods, you know, because that's what I prefer working, you know, I prefer building, you know, I'll be honest, diesels are great, you make money off them, but everything weighs 1,000 pounds and it's dirty and, you know, and that's just the way it is. So like hot rods to me are just more fun.
I think that's what gets a lot of people into the diesel world is just the money.
100%. Yeah, you can make a lot. You can make a lot of money in the diesel industry for sure. Yeah. You know, it's like I had my own, like I said, my own diesel repair shop in California, and it was always packed. You know, so there's plenty of money to be made for sure. So we use electric like everything. Like even now I only have like a small air compressor just for like blowing stuff off. You know, it's like all my impacts are electric. You know, all my
you guys
tools
aren't
and
doing any
drills.
body work in here.
Yeah, we don't do any body work. Yeah, so like I'll do some mild work on that firewall over there, stuff like that. But like, there's no body work going on in here.
No reason to have air.
If I can transition to electric on all that stuff, on batteries, you know, all the Milwaukees and stuff like that, 100%. It's just easier than dragging an air hose all over the shop, you know, and just a pain in the butt. So
okay, cool. Talk me through these vehicles that you're working on right now. What are you doing to this Ferrari?
So this Ferrari is a pretty quick job. So the customer has an aftermarket like X-pipe exhaust that he wants to fit to it. It doesn't fit quite perfect, so we're just going to be cutting out the transition pipe in there and just getting it adapted up to the exhaust manifold so it fits correctly. You know, so this will be pretty quick in and out. You know, nothing too big. Yeah, it's actually it's from a friend's shop who is doing a bunch of other repair work to it. He just wanted to bring it down since the like exhaust welding is outside of his skill set, basically.
The exhaust manifolds are the aftermarket tubular ones in a different spot than the factory ones were, and the exhaust system that was on it had a set of cats that were really big, and they ran individually out through the cutouts here and out of the back of the car. This new setup, it's got this nifty little crossover here, so you can get that really nice tone out of this high revving V8. Kind of equalizes the reverb of the exhaust note, keeps it from sounding real lumpy like an American V8. So this section of tube here needs to connect to this one here. I cut the old smaller piece out. I'm gonna kind of clean it up, flatten it out, and then I'm gonna start building from that section back there to this section here, which will kind of go, this is kind of a generalized idea from the very beginning. Probably gonna take and do a little bit of modification to kind of get it fitting a little better, because I've got another little bend down here that I got to account for. So essentially it's gonna go from exhaust collector back to this section, and then after I'm done with both sides of the front half, I'm gonna take and build from here back out to the tailpipe section.
That's cool. Like Kip was saying, like, you're not trying to work on this other than the exhaust.
Yeah, these cars are old enough now that they're starting to have fairly typical issues, like Lambos, Ferraris. They're all kind of getting into that age now. Like this one's an '08, so it's got problems with the top. Obviously, guy wants it to sound a little cooler, so going with a different exhaust. I don't know if there's like an ultimate goal with this car, but like I think he just wants it to sound cool and drive. So
cool.
So this K5 is here because it was LS swapped already by another shop, and then we're just going to go through and basically, you know, just tighten things up on it. You know, it's like you should probably get rid of this air filter, obviously, clean the wiring up, get all the systems functioning properly. There's a couple leaks on the transmission's got a leak on it and stuff like that, and we'll go through and get that fixed. And then,
do you find that you're cleaning up a lot of other people's work?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So, you know, I kind of come from like, trying to remember what my father used to tell me, but it was basically along the lines of like, if you didn't do it right, then you didn't do it. You know, it's like, so like, you know, if you were like, oh yeah, I'm done doing whatever it is, and you'd be like, I run into that a lot with projects like this where they come in where they're like, whoever built it was like, okay, I'm done. You know, but then you're like, okay, well, this actually wasn't done.
There's
like,
a lot.
There's a lot that should have been finished or done correctly. And yeah, you kind of half-assed over, you know, the wiring and stuff like that. So we end up with a lot of that kind of stuff because kind of going that extra mile ends up being like, it's kind of weird that it is so uncommon, but it is, you know, it's like trying to make sure like For example, one that we had that left just now is like the electric fans were hooked up, but then they weren't programmed correctly in the computer, right? So like they didn't function. You can spend weeks on the tail end of a project just going, I don't like the way this thing starts when it's cold. Okay, make a modification. Well, now I got to wait till tomorrow until it's dead cold again, you know, and then try it again. Okay, you know. And it just takes that bit of love, you know, attention to detail to get stuff. Basically, the last guy gets an A for effort, and then this is what we got to change, though, you know, and kind of fix all that stuff and make sure it functions right. So,
are you guys doing any like interior work or?
No, the interior's not bad. You know, this, like I said, you can take a peek inside. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, the interior's not bad on this thing. The biggest thing is the wiring, plumbing fixes, and then the top doesn't fit very well.
A little bit of wind noise, probably.
Yeah, and it just doesn't fit.
Well, if you have a K5 Blazer, that top shouldn't be on there anyway. In my opinion.
Well, one of the crazy things, the thing that's tricky about the top on this thing is, so 67 to 72, right, was that body style over there, right, and then 73 to I want to say like 75 when it switched to the square body. I think it was 75. It had this top that goes all the way up and it cuts off right there, right?
Yeah.
So it was like a true convertible, right?
Yeah.
After 75, this door frame
was solid.
Was solid and the roof was there, right? So this top is actually very hard to come by because they only made this truck for a couple of years. And once again, you know, nobody crucify me in the comments if I'm off by a year there. But so that's being part of the tricky part about this thing is like the tops are hard to get and the rubbers are, you know, super old and rotted out. So we're gonna have to get these rubbers all replaced on this whole top and get everything fitting correctly. And the tops, you know, in all reality, probably didn't fit that good from the factory anyways. So that's gonna be one of the main features, is just getting that top to fit correctly.
The tops don't fit good on the removable tops now.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, nothing. Yeah, convertibles still don't work very well. Yeah, so for sure. So
original dash and everything.
I think that's been replaced, or is it original? Oh, it's original. Yeah. The seats have been redone though on this thing.
Okay.
They're pretty cool. Yeah. The interior's not bad on this thing.
Are most of your cars coming in here local?
Most of them are actually out of state.
Yeah,
most out of state.
That's why I was looking at the Colorado plate.
Colorado on this one, Colorado on that one. That's local. This is Idaho right here. This one was built locally, but it kind of got passed around a little bit. Super nice truck, right? The work that was done on this thing in the past was very, very good. And basically the guy who ended up buying it, loves the truck, you know, it's about 99% complete, you know. The hood's not on it, but like it's pretty well complete. Right now it's just got an LS3 in it with a kind of a more budget fuel injection system on it with a throttle cable on there as well. So a drive-by cable throttle body. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna rip this front clip back off, yank that LS3 out, and yank the 4L60 that's behind it out. And it's going to get an LT4, so a supercharged LT that's built, so it'll be like 850 horsepower. Still haven't decided on the transmission portion because there's a few different ways to skin that cat, but either a 4L80 or a 10L90. The tricky part we got to figure out about that is that the 10L90 is a great transmission, but it is bigger. You know, it's a pretty big transmission, so all the body work's been done. You know, so if it would have been at the beginning of the project, it'd be different because you could accommodate that into the firewall. Whereas, like, I'm just trying to keep this thing, really do some upgrades.
Trying to redo all this work.
Exactly. We're not trying to, you know, we're taking a few steps back, but we're not trying to take 25 steps back, you know.
Yeah.
So along with that, obviously, if we ended up doing a 10L90, then we got to do, like right now it has a column shifter, right? If we do 10L90, then we got to do a console shifter, you know, so it's like how many changes does the customer want to make, you know? I don't do things like on a budget, right? Obviously, but like I try to be realistic and not, you know, waste people's money, you know, and stuff like that. So trying to see what he wants to do there as far as that stuff goes.
I saw a little bit of the interior.
Oh, dude, yeah, this truck's beautiful, man, yeah.
I like that seat.
And that'd be the thing too, is the seat's great and the door panels are great, you know, and if we made that 10L90 switch, we'd have to, you know, figure out where and the best way to incorporate a console shifter when that seat already looks great, you know. So trying to not make too many changes there, but.
That's cool. I like that.
That houndstooth, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice. Specialty, man.
LS.
Most of our work is LS here, so I'm trying to move more into LTs also these days, just because even LSs, it's kind of a funny one where you're like, when LSs first came out, people were like, oh man, like small blocks are 25, 30 years old, get rid of them. And then it's like, you have to hit the pause button now and you think, dude, even LSs are 20 years old, you know? So it's like LTs are, you know, really just a little bit better LS, but I'm trying to incorporate that more, but LSs still pay the bills, man. You know, people love them. Don't blame them. I've built tons of LSs over the years. I love them also. They're great engines. You know, you can make a lot of power out of them, and they're reliable. And they're, as far as like horsepower, if you were to go like horsepower, reliability to cost ratio, there's other platforms that you can make more power out of. I'm not going to say that you can't, but then by the time you get done adding the bill up, it's like twice the amount of money, so.
Would you start with just a fresh LS, or would you go get junkyard LS if you're just a guy trying to build a truck or whatever?
It just depends on how much money you got.
Yeah.
It depends
well,
on
for
really.
me, I'm going to the junkyard.
Yeah. The junkyard's not a bad. Well, that's the great thing about LS is once again that makes them so great is like you really can go to a junkyard and pull out a 6.0 or a 5.3, and give it a pressure wash and a new set of gaskets, and even with 100,000 miles on it, it's still got plenty of life left in it, And if you want to just clean that thing up and throw it in your old square body, you're automatically going to have way more power than you had out of the small block Chevy. It's going to be way more reliable, and therefore it's going to be more fun to drive, Because like if you can nail that spot where you land with like more horsepower and more reliable, that's better all day long, So
That's cool.
This one, 70 Chevelle SS. Originally, it started out as like the customer bought it out of Florida. Most of the body work on it's pretty good, and the paint's good. And he really thought he was getting like a turnkey, ready to go car. After he got it, he kind of found out that it wasn't exactly what it was advertised to be. So, customers from Colorado ended up out here through a mutual contact. It went from, hey, let's just fix a few things, to like, oh man, this thing's way worse than you thought it was. Way
doing a
worse.
lot more than a few things.
Yeah, a lot more than a few things. It's like engine was leaking oil everywhere. He wanted to clean the firewall up, found that the firewall had been just like hacksawed out and had like a plate just put over it with like some silicone and stuff.
Yeah.
So it kind of spiraled, and that's unfortunately the way a lot of these older cars do, because these cars are damn near 60 years old. So you think how many times they've been touched.
Yeah.
And by so many hands, touched and modified,
You don't know until you tear it apart.
Yeah, you don't know until you tear it apart. So for this thing, basically, once we kind of figured out how bad it was, I was like, hey man, like let's just do this the right way. We'll pull the chassis off, get the chassis powder coated, rebuild the suspension, rebuild the brakes, get this firewall straightened out so it has a good like starting point. And it had like 1,000 holes in it from just like, oh, I need to run another wire, and just put a hole in it. So we went through and filled all the holes in it. And did what's called a skin on this. So like, since it had that ugly hole in it, you kind of only got two options. Option one is to separate this firewall entirely down there and buy a new firewall for it, which is a ton of work, like, whereas the structure of the firewall wasn't rusted, it was just had that big gaping hole in it. So what we did is we bought a skin. There's a couple companies that make the skins, and they're already cut to like that outline, that part, and then you just lay it over the top, prep everything, weld it, and then get it all ground back down. And then
it looks nice.
Primer. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Yeah, Justin did this, and he's done fantastic work on it.
So where's like the frame and everything right now?
Chassis is sitting right over there. Yeah, it's just sitting off to the side because I'm waiting to. I got more items coming back from powder coat.
Yeah, that's going to be clean. When you get that back together.
It's like, and there's a few different routes you can go on this thing. Is like, this is the factory chassis. One thing I try to do on any project we have in the shop is I try to take more of like a realistic approach, because it's like show cars, these old classics, like they'll get $300,000-$400,000 like fast, So it's like, really when this thing came in, I was talking to the customer and I was like, what do you want to do with this thing? He's like, well, I really just want to drive it every day, And I was like, okay, well in that case, like let's keep the factory style suspension, just clean everything up and replace it. No reason to buy like a roadster shop chassis. I'm not sure if you're familiar with their stuff, but it's like, that's gonna be like 30 grand out of the park, right away. So I was like, let's just keep this factory chassis. I'll go through and clean up some of the, like I had a couple broken brackets on it and some exhaust brackets that had been welded on it over the years, Let's just clean it up, send it off to powder coat, and then put it back together and we'll go from there. So
if you're not looking to sell it for big dollars, this is the way to go.
Absolutely, yeah. Because it's once again just keeping like realistic, like, and a lot of guys they'll go super crazy on these cars and they'll take them so far from what they started as, whereas like these cars actually rode pretty good in my opinion, as far as like if you keep the factory style wheels and tires on them and stuff like that, and they end up building a car that they end up being like disappointed in, because they'll put like a roadster shop chassis on it with coilovers and 20-inch wheels and like all this stuff, and then they're like, oh man, this thing handles good, but it rides like crap, and stuff like that, and they end up being disappointed with all the money they spent. I see it in the show car industry a lot, where guys end up getting show cars built and they didn't really realize that it's not what they wanted, So like, so the goal with this thing is to keep it something that's like looks clean, the car looks nice, it's going to perform well, but still going to ride good and like land in the middle, like where show cars over here, and then just like a super budget builds right here. It's like land in the middle, you know, where something reasonable that he can enjoy is clean, you know, and performs well. So, but it'll be getting a 4 to 9 inch in the back, you know, so once again, we're not skimping on performance. So, you know, nice, you know, upgraded control arms, you know, for the back, and all new steering components. Steering box, another big one on this generation of car is that's a 12-to-1 ratio steering box. The factory one was like 17-to-1. So basically, like, if you remember a lot of these old cars, you had to like turn it like an eternity, right, to get all the way left to right. So this will quicken that up to make it a little faster, you know, steering from left to right and stuff like that. And then the biggest upgrade is going to be that, you know, this thing had a 454 in it with a Muncie 4-speed behind it, right? So like that 454 was worn out. The Muncie 4-speed was worn out. You know, like it would hardly go in like any of the gears. So this thing will be getting a Stroker LS, this orange one that I have over here, and then it'll be getting a Tremec TKX, which will be a 5-speed. So now this thing will go from like a 454, this giant engine that really didn't put out that much power with a 4-speed, to like an engine that puts out more power, a little more fuel efficient, and then has an overdrive now. You know, so it's like, so that commute he wants to do on the highway, you know, is gonna be a lot more feasible for him.
That'd be really cool. I think the Chevelle was the first car that I personally fell in love with. In high school. I'm just like, I want that.
Like
so
this
bad.
body style?
Yeah,
they're great.
Exactly.
Man. Yeah, this body style's great. Yeah. This is a 70, and I like the 70 because like the double headlights in the front without the marker that's built into the front corner. So yeah, the 70s are great. Yeah, so this is a cool car. It'll be great when it's done. Like I said, it's gonna land like right in the middle where like it's not a full custom like show car where you're just like terrified to drive it, you know, but like it's still clean, you know. If you look at that engine package, it's going to go in. You know? This gets to the upper end of this used to be the top, right? So what you got here is a 408 stroker that's built on a Gen 4 LS platform. So this particular block actually came out of like a FedEx delivery truck.
Really?
Yeah, because the FedEx runs the Gen 4s, 6.0s, and they, you know, they're in like a ton of FedEx trucks. So I can actually get these for, you know, not too bad on price. And then obviously it gets completely torn apart, you know, from there. Nothing gets reused except for the block itself, you know. Inside this one is forged crank, forged rods. Yeah, CV Carrillo pistons are in this one. Custom camshaft of my specs, shaft mount rockers, CNC ported heads, stainless valves, you know, basically the whole nine. So I'm hoping this 408 is going to be between like 600 to 625 horsepower. You get so many guys who are just obsessed with like, my engine made 750 horsepower, right? And that's like, that's all they care about, right? Well, then you're like, okay, well, show me the dyno sheet, right? And it's like, yeah, it made 750 horsepower. You're like, at like 7,000 RPMs, you know? So it's like, when are you there, right? It's like, whereas everything I build is like, I try to build stuff that's like streetable, right? So this thing should put out about 600 horsepower, but it should be putting that power out and that torque out in the range of like 4,000 to 5,000 RPMs, right? So you can still use it, you can still have fun on the street with it, you know, and be, you know, in that range that makes sense to be in, you know. We will have port fuel injection here, but what's going to separate this one from like most of the port fuel injection units is it still doesn't have a drive-by cable throttle body. It has a drive-by wire throttle body on it. So when you pull this off, sitting under there is an LS3 style throttle body. So that will make this thing, you know, once again, a pleasure to drive and a pleasure to start, you know. And then also it cleans everything up because you don't have that hole in the firewall for the cable and all that kind of stuff. So this will be the top of the line as far as like your cost setup goes, and getting something that looks a little bit cleaner than that junkyard 5.3 that you pressure wash, you know.
And if somebody wanted one like this is something you're building to build again.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So one thing I've been doing on this is like, I built tons of LSs over the years, but I wanted to make sure this package setup, and by package setup, I mean this like classic vintage look, right? I had every part nailed down to like easily repeatable, you know? So it's not like, oh, I gotta build another one and figure it all out again. So everything down to like the exact valley cover that I'm using that has the crankcase ventilation is actually built into this valley cover, and it's tucked back in there. There's a fitting for it, down to like the size of every stainless bolt that I use, you know. Those will be sold in a package. And the other difference on these packages is a lot of guys are still running like the GM Performance Parts, ECUs and stuff. Those units aren't bad. Similarly to how I talked before, like I'm trying to leave them in the past. And what that means is like moving on to a company called Haltech. These will come to you with basically like, you tell me how far from the back corner of the engine you're gonna have the computer mounted, right? 48 inches.
Yeah.
So it'll come to you with the wiring
Wired
already
and
done,
everything.
already wired,
Yeah.
right? Because like that really is kind of the daunting part about it, like doing an LS for a lot of guys is like you can buy a universal wiring kit for an LS from Holley or from a multitude of other companies, but like you have this like ugly corrugated split loom, right? And all the lengths are like, this one's 6 inches too long, this one's like 4 inches too short, right? And by the time you get done, you just got this wad and it just looks terrible, right? So it's like, if we're gonna make an engine that looks that good, the wiring also needs to look
So for a
good.
guy that thinks he's going to buy something that he can just, you know, kind of put together in his garage, you're thinking of the things that are going to stop him from
Absolutely. Yeah.
finishing the project.
Because, you know, coming from the show car world also is like, that is a huge part of it is getting that wiring dialed in, you know, and once again, like not everybody can do that, you know, and it's not that they lack the, you know, like the intelligence to do it. It's just like it takes so much time to get the wiring, you know, done correctly, you know. Whereas like we've wired a lot of engines before, you know, all the way down to the connectors, so we can get all the lengths, you know, terminated perfectly, and then all you got to do is just drop that thing in, don't scratch it, you know, and then hook it all up, and then you're out the door. So
What's this block you have behind it?
oh man, yeah, this is going to be a future
startup?
one. Yeah, this is going to be a future one. So I grabbed blocks from different places to use for different stuff. This is actually sonic testing for liquid. So this one was out of a Cadillac CTS-V. So this is an LSA block. Biggest difference between like an LS3 and an LSA block is that the LSA block has piston squirters in it, so it'll actually cool the pistons down a little bit. This one had a pretty rowdy life, so it ended up cracking one of the cylinder liners. I believe it was this one. I have to grab a flashlight and take a look.
Right there.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you see that big, huge crack right there. I'm not sure if the camera can capture that, but oh, that one's even worse. So crack 2.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. So this one cracked these liners, and like out of the factory, these liners are pretty thin. If you look here, you know, they're not very thick. That's how thick the steel liner is that's in there. So that basically makes the block for most people useless, right? Because then, you know, it's cracked, it's ruined. What we can do with that is take that and cut those liners out. And by we, I mean my machine shop. And then we put a bigger sleeve in it. And then we'll take it out to a 427 cubic inch. So that's the plan for this one. So like that one's a 408, this will be a 427, and it'll end up being one of these crate engine packages.
When I came into Diesel Brothers, you were kind of going out.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think we were there for maybe 6 months at the same time.
Yeah.
And where'd you go from there, and like where have you been, and like what brought you here?
Yeah, so for me, I transitioned out of Diesel Brothers when I was doing the performance work and like kind of running the shop basically. Not even kind of, I was running the shop.
Yeah,
I was
you're
shop
manager.
So I transitioned out of there, and I went over and worked at Overkill Racing and Chassis. So I was the shop manager there, and that was kind of a new adventure as far as like, we just wanted to do things like, you know, our own way and just kind of start that process. So I managed Overkill Racing and Chassis, let's see here, from 2019 to like 2022, I think. I mean, my time's gonna be a little bit off, but like somewhere around there. And then I just decided to go a different direction with what I wanted to do, because once again, like building like monster truck style stuff just wasn't my passion, you know?
Yeah.
So here locally is Kindig-it Design in downtown Salt Lake, who builds, I mean, without a doubt, builds the nicest show cars on the planet. You know,
Really?
They won the Riddler last year. I don't know if you know what that is. And they're here in Salt Lake, you know. So I was like, you know, I want to get out of this. I want to go back to hot rods. What I've always loved, anyways, is like more hot rod stuff. So I applied there, and they hired me. It was
It's cool that they actually build really nice stuff.
Yeah, they build very nice cars. Yeah. The problem with Kindig-it, and this isn't a dig on Kindig-it, is their stuff's so nice you don't even want to drive it though.
Yeah,
it's like, you know, it's like
a show car.
It's literally a show car, you know. So I transitioned to there, got into the show car industry. You know, obviously I had the mechanical aptitude before that because I'd been building stuff for years. But then after I started working there, I kind of picked up more of the show car side of how things are done, you know. So I did final assembly there, and then I took over. Have you seen the CF1 cars they make, the carbon fiber? So I kind of took over like streamlining that process and documenting it to make it into like a literal book with like hyperlinks, dude, and like everything. I took over project management for the whole shop after that. So I took Kindig-it from a place that literally used paper time cards to a completely integrated time management system that you could use on your phone or on a computer that tracked everyone's time, budget allocations, like everything. In that industry, like a system like that didn't exist. previous to coming to Utah, like I worked for myself. I had my own shop, you know. My personality type, I'm not gonna say that I don't get along with others, but I definitely I do things my way. Working at a place and I'm told that like, that's not the way we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it this way. And I know it's the wrong way. I don't like it. So it
hurts.
So now, I have to work, I can do things my own way, you know, and
That's
then
cool.
I can take it up with myself if it doesn't work out right.
You can figure that out in
Yeah, I
bed.
can figure that out. Yeah, exactly. When I'm thinking about it at the end of the night where I did something wrong, you know.
That's where I figure my shit out.
Yeah.
Just laying in bed like, oh man, I messed that up. Well, either way, Kip, if they want to, the viewers at home want to get a vehicle in your shop, how do they get a hold of you?
Yeah, so 2 ways there. You can do the social media approach, which is just, you know, Blaze Performance on Instagram. That is the name. Or you can just go to blazeperformance.com and go to the webpage, and there is a section, I believe, in the About or the customer request section, and you can put in what your project is and shoot it over, and I'll get an email, and then we can coordinate with each other and see what you want, you know?
Cool. If you guys have something at home that you're either, you know, halfway through, I don't know if you prefer that. You probably don't prefer that. But if you can't get it across the finish line, hit Kip up. If you got a truck that you want fully built, hit Kip up. So,
There you
like he said, Instagram or the website, go fill out the form. But thank you, Kip, for showing us around.
Appreciate it, man.
And I really appreciate what you're doing here. So until next time, guys, stay tuned.